Yeah, welcome back, everybody, to Bear's Rod Shop once again. And today we're going to be covering some micrometers, some calipers, some machinist rulers, gauges, etc. And I've got kind of stirred up on Monday evening. I come in and watched old Pete 222, and how it started. Before I get over here to this little poster board, is this little cheap Japan-made micrometer, 1 inch. I picked this up a couple years ago when I bought some machining stuff at a first day Monday sale. Every state must have one of them because that's where we end up going and buying stuff we don't need. And lo and behold, this was thrown into a box. I think I bought a couple $100, but it looks like a Manchoi, but it's not. There's no brand markings. Quality is pretty decent, for as small as it is. Had a broke piece of plastic on the one side, and I'm going to have my buddy, hopefully, Mr. Allen, has a 3D printer. I could cut that out of ABS plastic, but I think he can do that and actually put the engraving back in there and maybe put BRS on it. But anyhow, we're getting away from the subject. The reason for the video was that here is the tumbler on the dial indicator, and it wasn't working. So he just said, take it. It's junk. You might be able to use it for parts one day. Never thought anything about it. And the other day I was in there and needed to pick up a mic, and I felt sorry for this little critter. So I took it all apart yesterday evening, got through with some work, and then came in, and lo and behold, let's see if we can get the light in there. See that little gear down in there? Well, somebody got mean with it, or whenever that plastic was dropped, if you can see that all right, it wouldn't turn. And here is what we call the old plug blind holes to get to it, and that little tiny, zoom down as close as we can, 1 millimeter Allen wrench. Luckily I had one. Actually it mic'd out just a little under a millimeter, but I had one Allen wrench in my toolbox that fit that thing. And you can see how tiny the screws are that's going to go back into to mount this. Oop, we don't hit the camera. But another thing we found that was wrong, and I'm getting off the subject of why I started this. Let's see if we can block this up right here. Yeah, like that. Okay. These little tiny screws, you can see by eyeball, they're not pristinely placed in there. They're pretty close. But right here, if we can get this, let me get something to point with. When I reset and snugged up the shafts to the gears, right here, this was closed in. And on the other side, and the gears were only getting engaged about a half a cog. And I took a piece of 80 grit sandpaper, put it on a hat pin, and made a file. Now you're going to say, you cheap sucker. Why don't you order you some watchmakers files? Well, in a pinch, that worked. So you just take your piece of, well, you can just take regular sandpaper. I used 80 because I had some sitting right here in the bench, and I needed a file to lower that elevation down right there, or extend down on that opening. So those little tiny screws would slide on, or it'd slide on up and then lock down, and before they wouldn't lock down. Now, this thing, we'll get in and turn it backwards on this side. So you can see they work just like a champ. There was a little bit of dirt and corrosion. Took the gear out, had it on the table last night about 11 o'clock, and cleaned it good in alcohol, and then I oiled it. And Pete will say, well, you got to use that good old Starrett oil. But I have machines. I've got 5 commercial machines, and I use pure mineral oil, and that works just super. Now I'm gonna zoom back over here real quick. Excuse me. Had to move the trash can out of the way. But today's video, real quick, is tear down and fix of this little small micrometer digital or dial, micrometer. Garage sale finds. And when I watched Pete's video there at Pete222 on Shop Tips 302, he had tore one of these down and got me just, okay, Mr. Pete, I got to get this thing fixed. And then also I watched the videos over, got me a little cheat sheet here. When I have to read off of it on the side because I forget. But then I got on Abom 79 showing me his 3rd generation. And I'm going to slide over here when we're talking about Adam. He had a 1-inch LS Starrett. And this is a rare, I say rare. It's a number 215 millimeter, 10 millimeter, and it's identical copy to it. And I've got another one, which is U.S. standards, Imperial, that is a 2-inch, that was my dad's. Identical made, and look how tiny this thing is. Well, I don't know if I can get you close enough, but there, with the shadow in the background, you can see the LS Starrett 215M. It's the tiniest micrometer that I've got in my fleet. I know they make some 1/2 millimeter and 1/2 inch ones, but this has been around, probably 25 years plus in my possession. Don't remember where I got it. I'm not even a machinist, and it wasn't then, and I still ain't. And here we got another micrometer here. It's a reed. Now, anybody can send me some comments on the reed. This is in a really nice little felt box, and this is nice. It doesn't have the, capability of locking or the ratchet, but well built from Massachusetts. I guess that's up in Worcester, Mass. Don't hear a whole lot and don't see a whole lot of that brand out on the market. Now, I mentioned to you, we picked up these. I have 4 more out there, all the way from 1-inch up to these size. That's the largest one I've got here, this 3/4. And but anyhow, I really like those. This one needs some, this one needs some attention. That's the reason it's in here today. It's going to be fixed before it gets out of here and recalibrated. And then we have an old Central. And I think this is before Harbor Freight even come into play. Has some, when it was calibrated, if it'll focus all right. Well, I only have one hand today. But very nice micrometer. And again, I don't know where I picked this one up. Let's see. Having a hard time. I don't have a good camera zoomed down. Oh, help if I turned it over. Let's see what we got on the back here. Warning, do not use for productivity. Ha! Okay. Well, that's a good sign. Maybe that's the testers, or maybe that was the shop there in the tool room that wasn't supposed to get out. And all right, let's get back to it. And then, of course, we got the machinist rulers here, and on the back of this one here, it's got the metric scale. It's a Chinese made, but that is a U.S. built right here. It's real hard to see there, but from St. Paul. All right, back to this. Anyhow, we got garage finds that Mr. Pete said I think he give $5 for his on that video 302. And he said, you know, he hardly couldn't see the dial, and how he fixed that and turning that real thin 6,000ths off of that barrel, this being the barrel, of course, turning 6,000ths off of this. Me, I would have had to put it out there on the old flat steel Delta plate with some emery cloth and do it by hand, you know, the old, like this. I'd have been Larry putting that in my lathe, but Pete did it. Hats off to you, Pete. It was a good video, and man, you got it. Then you can see the lines. And if I ever have to do that again, and I get to where I can become a, well, not an apprentice anymore, but a halfway apprentice, I will attempt that. Looking down this barrel, that is copper, and that ain't a bushing in this thing. I don't believe, but how did they get this nice stainless look finish on it? I'd like some comments on that. It is copper all the way through, unless it's been, maybe, anodized. Could be. I think it might have been anodized and then turned. But I'd like some comments on that barrel. We get back to this, and I won't put this in the gauge today because them little tiny screws and these big fat chubby fingers, it takes a while, and I'd have to stop the video. I actually dropped one of them screws last night, and it fell right on top of my shoe. Lucky. I thought it was underneath the bench forever and gone, but so now I got everything taped kind of down and safe working, and I'll even open this drawer. So if it bounces off again, I'm going to find it in this drawer. Let's get over here real quick and do some appreciation to some folks. I've got Adam over there at Abom, of course, and Adam, really appreciate you sharing that and a real good instruction on how to read a micrometer, and especially using that good old Starrett 3rd generation, and mine being 2nd generation. I'll pass it on to our oldest son, and hopefully he appreciates it, and then it'll be a 3rd. But Blondhecks, she did episode 19 is really thorough. Any beginners that are listening and watching our channel, please check her out. She does a good, thorough, not only on micrometers, but on the calipers. And Joe Pye, a lot on the caliper, not so much on the micrometer. I think Joe, probably being a top machinist, might think all of us youngsters out here, being near our 70s, we can read a micrometer, but we have to have blinders and cheaters on. And then anyhow, we want to, again, thumbs up to them folks for teaching us, learning. I have book after book, paper notes. Every time I watch a video, I write down something else. And you have apprenticed out there and beginners, y'all please watch those videos and give us your comments. If sharing this information is helping, we'd like to hear from you. And one more last time, I want to turn this around before we end this video and tell you a little bit about these dials. Let me get out of the shadow here. When I got this, it was set at about 0.672 or something. It was just sitting there. And after I snugged the gears up, I started turning them tumblers. I turned for 2 hours, clockwise. If I'd have went counterclockwise, it'd have probably come up in just a few minutes. But anyhow, she's ready to pop back in to this little old compartment right here and be done, and get this micrometer back in its little box out there in the shop and get ready to be used doing some mill work and machining. Y'all come back and visit us, and thumbs up, and please share. God bless.